because it's easier to make the near field darker than it is to make the far field brighter sometimes. Okay? Because you can run out of room in the far field. Okay? You can run out of TGC space. Yes, ma'am.
Once you click the eye scan button, how do you like click it?
You don't. Eye scan, it kind of works where it's called something else on different machines, but when you move, it'll automatically give you optimal grayscale wherever you move, wherever you push. You can't turn it off. You can't turn it off. Only way you can change that is by changing your amplification, your receiver gain, or by changing your TGC.
So if you don't want to use it anymore, can you simply do like transducer again?
Nah, you just don't use it anymore.
But because I tried it and I didn't know, like it was too dark, so I didn't know how to get rid of it.
Oh, you just use your 2D. Just use your 2D gain. Use your 2D. Guys, I don't know if you know, but your 2D percentage is up here. Your amplification percentage is right there, 86%. Right? See it moving? Now I'm at 100%. I'm at the maximum of my amplification. Okay? So that's how you can see how much you're adjusting your amplification or your receiver gain. It's a number on there that tells you. That's how I can see. All right, that's how you know everything that's going on with the machine.
So it just stays lit up.
It's just gonna stay lit up. It's gonna stay. So I have it dark right now. I can brighten it up to where I want it to be. I can hit it again. And now when you see it automatically change back to 51%. I brought it all the way to 100%. I hit eye scan, it brings it back down. Now it's at 49%. Okay. So it's gonna kind of give you that optimal. I don't have any anatomy. If I'm gonna scan later, I don't have any anatomy. I have to show you how that works. Okay, because sometimes it doesn't work good all the time. Sometimes it'll make your image too dark or too bright. All right. And then we have the far gain, guys. That's the maximum amount of compensation the receiver can provide. And we have our TGCs all the way to the left, to the right. That's the maximum amount of compensation we can provide right there. Okay. So like I say, try not to get stuck. Move your TGCs back to the middle. Press eye scan, use your receiver gain, and then adjust your TGCs. Like if you're doing somebody that has a liver that's 25 centimeters deep, you know after like 18 centimeters, it's gonna be dark down there. You already know this. So sometimes you have your TGCs right in the middle. You're gonna run out of space really quick to amplify that sound at different depths.
So when we do the eye scan, does it give us a balanced ratio?
Yeah, it balances it out. It's like an optimal scale. It's gonna balance everything out for you. It's not gonna affect everything equally. It's gonna take that information you have on the screen and optimize it according to the system settings.
So it depends on the patient by how this continuation, how does it affect
It's gonna take the anatomy and it's gonna kind of even it out as much as it can according to what's being shown. That's why when you move it around, it'll change. Every time you move, it'll change because it's trying to optimize the information that's on the screen and stuff.
And that's also just perception.
Yes. Yes. It's kind of like a combination of amplification and compensation. Or people say it's a cheater button. That's what the students call it. Not cheating, it's a cheater button. But it's not cheating, it's on there. Okay? Guys, remember, less attenuation occurs with lower frequency transducers, right? Less attenuation occurs with lower frequency transducers, and more attenuation occurs with higher frequency transducers, okay? So higher frequency transducers, they're gonna lose energy faster than lower frequency transducers. That's the reason we use the C5, the curved transducer, because it's a C5 compared to a 12, because it's able to travel deeper into the body, because it's lower frequency. Higher frequency is going to give us better image quality, but we're not going to be able to see as deep into the body as we want to. Okay? Okay? Before I go to compression, guys, can you hit that light for me, Clay? Okay. Because I want you guys to know how to figure this out right here. Guys, everybody go to page 229. 229. Please and thank you. Let's do this question right here. Y'all see the chart 14.11? Everybody there? Everybody there?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. 229, guys. 229. Share a book if you don't have yours. All right. So I'm going to read the first question. If you can, try to cover up your answer so you just don't know the answer off top without understanding it. Okay. So number 1 says you are using a 4 megahertz transducer and have adjusted the TGC perfectly, as represented by the red TGC line. That's the middle one, guys. That's the solid line up there. Okay. The TGC is then adjusted. You are given a new transducer with an unknown frequency. The TGC is then adjusted to create the same image that is obtained using a 4 megahertz transducer. This new TGC setting is the purple dotted line. Is the frequency of the new transducer greater than or less than the 4 megahertz transducer, and why? Looking at that image, looking at the gray dotted line, I'm gonna give you guys a second to think about it. Please don't look at the answer explanation first. But just eyeballing that purple dotted line, that purple dotted line to the left of the red line, is that new transducer of higher frequency or lower frequency?
Lower frequency. It goes more deeper.
Lower, because the near gain is to the right.
Lower?
I would say it's deeper.
Lower? Abby? Lower? Are you just going with the fuck? Why is it lower, Abby?
Because there's a lower frequency. Because I'm looking up the depth.
Man, it was at the key right there.
What is it?
You're looking at the depth. Myra said the key earlier. It's the depth. It's able, because it's traveling deeper, because it's going deeper, we know that that's the use of a lower frequency transducer than that 4 megahertz. It's probably a 2 megahertz transducer. So if I have numbers right there, and I have something less than a 4 megahertz transducer with that exact same question, you're gonna pick the one that has the lower than 4 megahertz, correct? Everybody understand that question? Because I had that question on my test last year, and people weren't getting it because I didn't go over it. Okay, let's do number 2. All right. So number 2 says I'm using the same 4 megahertz transducer and have adjusted the TGC perfectly, as represented by the red dotted line. Again, that's our baseline. Okay. You are now given a new transducer with an unknown frequency. The TGC is then adjusted to create the same image as that obtained using a 4 megahertz transducer. This new TGC setting is the green dotted line. Is the frequency of the new transducer greater than or less than the 4 megahertz transducer, and why, Pat? Absolutely. Just right. Use your common sense. Absolutely. Use your common sense. Because you know how high frequency, low frequency transducers affect an image. Okay? You know that high frequency transducers are going to be used for shallow, superficial structures. Right, Myra? We proved that one day in the lab when we were looking at thyroids. Okay? Myra, never forget that. She answered that question right forever. All right? So I just wanted to be clear on that question right there, because I want to make sure that everybody understands and knows how we got those answers. We're good? We're golden, Pony Boy? None of y'all know about the outsiders? Man, y'all just young in here. Y'all don't know Patrick Swayze and the Outsiders? We Rumble? Oh my goodness! I haven't watched it in a while, but this is my childhood. This is growing up. This is growing up. You wouldn't watch it, man. Everybody, my mom loved Patrick Swayze. My mom loved Patrick Swayze. Pat, hit us one more time. Bang, guys. Amplification, also known as what, Pat?
Amplification, also known as
TGC.
Receiver gain. Receiver gain. Receiver gain. When? What are the synonyms for compensation? When only? What that stand for? Give me another one without looking down. Okay. Okay. You gotta do that. That's sweet. That's the little dance the kids doing these days. The sweet. Y'all ain't saying it's the mop. It's the mop, right?
Mop dance.
Y'all got it. Y'all got it. Y'all be in the books that much?
Yeah.
Goodness
studying
gracious.
mop.
I mean, I'm busy too.
We got no outside
Goodness.
connections.
It's the mop, right, Dad? Dad, what you want to demonstrate for? Go ahead, mop for it. Go ahead, mop for it. Let us see it. Oh, man, she probably be mopping all day at the house. I can't even get a good mop session in here. God.
I'll show you
Those
this
kids
mop
don't even
oven.
type mop, so I never touched
It's
it.
a dance. It's a dance. Don't do that. Don't do that,
They're gonna
President.
get a mop, watch.
Don't do these kids like that, President. Guys, compression. Compression changes the grayscale characteristic of an image. Okay? It completely changes it. It's effectively going to change the contrast of an image. It's going to make an image really, really black and white, or it's going to make it really, really gray. Okay? So compression changes the grayscale characteristics of an image. All right? Some synonyms for compression would be log compression and dynamic range. Okay? Log compression and dynamic. Remember, there's 2 chapters to this this section, right? I still have to go over chapter 16, which is dynamic range. It's just a continuation on compression, what you already know about compression. All right? Really, really short chapter. I'm going to cover it in like 10, 15 minutes. It's on like 4 pages, 3 pages, something like that. All right? So our synonyms for compression are log compression and dynamic range. Guys, on here, this one has 2 functions. It actually has compression right there. Compress, but it also has what we know as previous, where is that? Gray maps. Gray maps is another way to adjust your compression. Okay? And I'll show you in a minute. All right? So compression, log compression or dynamic range. Okay? Compression is performed 2 times. It's performed 2 times. All right? The first time is to keep the electrical signals within the accuracy range of the system electronics. Simple as that. It's going to keep the electrical signals because you know the signals are going to come back at differing strengths, right? So sometimes those strengths will be out of the range of what the machine can display. So if they come back, I don't know, super, you know, how many shades of black are there? You know, it's a lot, right? In reality, it's a lot of shades of black that our eyes can't always see, right? Just like the machine can't always detect those differing electrical signals when they come back. All right. So the first compression is done to keep the electrical signals within the accuracy of the system's electronics, so it can be displayed on the image. Okay. And the second one keeps the grayscale range within the range of detection of the human eye. How many shades of gray can we see? We can only see about 20 shades of gray, right? We learned that in intro, if you remember that far. We talked about that in intro class. Okay, but you just read it, huh? Okay. But the human eyes can only detect approximately 20 shades of gray. So we can't have all of these grays going on because our eyes won't be able to differentiate between those shades. Okay? So the first one is to keep the electrical signals in range of the system's settings. Okay? And the second one is to adjust the grayscale so that it's in range of the human eye. Alright? So compression is performed twice. Alright? Here it is right here, guys. We have a low dynamic range. Remember, dynamic range is another term for compression, right? We have a narrow dynamic range, and we have a wide dynamic range. Why is it narrow? Why is it wide? Why? It's narrow because this is more of a black and white image, correct? Or a high contrast image, right? It's just black and it's white. It's W, it's yeah. Michael Jackson, y'all just down, man. Y'all horrible on a Friday. What's up?
Because we had a test today.
Okay.
We didn't see
It depends. And we have a wide dynamic range right here, Why? Because we see so many shades of gray. It's so grayed out. Okay? It's so
What's
grayed out.
narrow and wide?
Narrow will be the more black and white in it. It's narrow because it has extremes. It's either black or it's white. There's not many shades of gray within that. Correct?
Oh, okay, so that the view, field of view, whatever doesn't change.
That has nothing to do with it. We're talking about dynamic range. Huh?
I was trying to understand narrow.
Narrow meaning
I'm looking
that
for something
it
narrow.
does.